Guys, welcome to SafuuX. So what is SafuuX? And I think he just gave it away, which is SafuuX is the world's first auto-staking, auto-rebasing, and auto-compounding layer 1 blockchain of its kind. So it has never been achieved before, okay? It has never been attempted before. There hasn't even been a thought or even any comprehension around the topic of, well, you know, should I create this or why is it being created in the first place? I don't think anyone's really thought about why this is needed, let alone even had the manpower to even execute something like this. So you've got to ask yourself, what makes SafuuX different than any other layer 1 blockchain? Yes, you've got these three, the auto-rebasing, auto-compounding, okay, auto-staking. But why is it different? Why should I use SafuuX? Why not use Ethereum? Why not use Solana? Why not use DOT? Why not use all these other layer 1s? So the real answer is all these other layer 1 blockchains are static blockchains. So they're static assets. So as a developer, well, you want to go with a blockchain that has a lot of support to give back, a lot of other developers to help you out, and also a lot of marketing. But as an investor, well, the normal kind of rule of thumb is what you would do is you would invest in a coin like Ethereum, let's say. You'd invest whatever it is, $100. You would wait normally until that asset goes up in value. It appreciates to, let's say, $200. And then you'd normally double your money, you'd cash out or whatever. That's the kind of investor mindset, but that's static. That just means you're waiting for the asset to appreciate in value. So what we're doing different is we're obviously offering more rewards back to you as a holder through rebasing, which I'll get into through these slides, back to you, instead of just needing to hold your asset and hoping the asset goes up. Well, the asset could actually just remain at the same value, but you got rebasing, which is you got rewards back to you. So you actually hold more of those coins worth the same value, and therefore you're actually getting rewards while you just hold. So we'll go through this. And this next slide is totally out there, and I'm sure that most of you guys are probably questioning in your mind right now to say 191,888% APY. Is this true? You know, is this actually possible? How can these guys claim this outrageous APY where no one's ever attempted it before, like I mentioned? No one's ever created a layer 1 rebasing blockchain before. So the one thing that I just want to relay about this APY is a lot of people get confused between, well, the APY, let's say if I put in $1,000 and then I can become a millionaire overnight with this outrageous APY. This APY is paid out on the coins itself from a blockchain level, okay? So it roughly equates to about double your money every 30 days. But it's not necessarily the money, it is the coins that you hold. So if you had, let's say, one SafuuX coin, well, the next month you've got 2 of those SafuuX coins, roughly. So that's where this APY comes in. It's paid out on the coins, all right, on the production level, not on a monetary value. So we can't dictate the free market, buyers buy, sellers sell. So who knows what the free market can or won't do, but the APY is paid on those assets itself. So the way I kind of have a really cool analogy that I like to use, and a lot of people kind of question this again and wonder why we're offering such an outrageous APY. So the analogy I like to use is about Uber. So Uber, when they started, they raised multi-millions of dollars, right, through VC investor funding, capital venture. They raised all this money, but they weren't profitable. They weren't a profitable company. They literally raised all this money and they blew through all of it just for marketing, just to create an impression, to try to capture investors, to try to capture interest of users, to try to become the multi-conglomerate that they are today. And they've done that for a reason, is to become the biggest and baddest out there, to capture the most amount of market share possible. So this is exactly what we're doing. We're using that same thing, and we're basically going out there to try to capture the most market share possible. That's it, to be the biggest and the baddest, so that way, well, we've got our foot through the door, and we can't be overtaken. So that's why this APY is here. Now, if you read, it does say, for the first 8 months, it is an introductory APY. And after that, because, well, the other question is, if we're offering that APY, it can't last forever. like it is impossible for that APY to last for forever. We can only make it last for a maximum of about 10 months. We've obviously chosen 8, so we can make sure that it is going to be paid. And then after that, we go to what's called a fixed flex model, which is more sustainable. And I will get through that in some multiple slides. So what is rebasing? Because we are, like I said, a rebasing blockchain, layer 1 blockchain. So with regards to rebasing, you can look at it as more of a deflation in supply or an inflation in supply. So as far as maximum supply goes, if you've got 100,000 tokens out there, through rebasing, where you can make that come down to 90,000 tokens, 80,000, or the other way around, you can make 110, 120. So rebasing just means you take the whole supply and you change that whole supply to be either less or more, and that affects literally every holder of the blockchain on that level. So with regards to APY rewards of the 191,888%, and even after 8 months, those rewards are paid to you as a holder just for holding your SafuuX coins. That's all you need to do every 15 minutes. And being auto staking, and I'm sure all of you guys are aware of what staking is. If you're not aware of what rebasing is, you know it's just an adjustment of the supply, okay? Inflation or deflation. But staking, most people are aware of, that they stake their coins for an amount of time, whether it's a week or month or year, whatever it is, and you get promised an APY or an APR, like a guaranteed APR. So with regards to what we're doing, it is virtually the same thing, but you don't actually need to lock in. There's no lock-in contracts. The coins that you own stay in your wallet. As we're all aware, your coins, your crypto. We don't want possession of them, we don't need that. They literally sit in your wallet. We're an EVM blockchain, EVM compatible. So whether they sit in your MetaMask or Ledger or Trust Wallet, whatever, that's all they need to do. And they're auto-staking, so they auto-stake. Again, you can withdraw, you can sell, you can do whatever you want. They're your coins, they're your crypto. Every 15 minutes, that APY does get paid to you. So obviously if you sell out and you're not holding your coins, well, you're not going to be paid or get that APY. You need to hold them in there. But you know, it's up to you how long you want them in there for. And as I mentioned, after that APY finishes, after 8 months, we turn into a fixed flex model. So with regards to rebasing, you know, you could be asking a question in your minds, I'm sure, about, well, if this guy is rebasing, you know, if this blockchain is rebasing to the amount of 191,888% APY, can't last forever, but there's going to be so many coins that's going to be out on the market that wouldn't that mean that my coin is now worth less? So we need to solve that. That's inflation. We need to solve inflation by creating a deflationary mechanism. So yes, we've got a maximum supply. You know, I'm not creating any negativity on Ethereum, but I'm just pointing reference that they don't have a maximum supply. They can keep on printing it. Whereas we will have a maximum supply that cannot be adjusted. But through the rebasing, we'll start at a point and we'll get to the maximum supply over about 4 to 5 years. So the deflationary mechanism to offset all that inflation is what we have deemed as a proprietary mechanism that we've actually developed called the fire pit. So in a general rule of thumb, it isn't uncommon that blockchains or tokens, you know, basically, you know, a lot of people, they burn tokens, like they burn supply. And they do that for a reason, is to offset the inflation. They create less of that, so less supply equals higher demand, right? That's it. The less of something, the more that something is going to be worth. So we need to do the same thing in the fire pit. We burn the coins from supply, but we do that in a very smart way using rebasing. So if, let's say, we had a coin supply of 100%, whatever that 100% is, but it's 100% of supply, right? That if we had a fire pit, which means that we take out at least a minimum of 51% of that supply out of circulation. So gone forever, right? It's burnt. You never get it back, it's gone. So 51% is gone. Then we actually aren't an inflationary blockchain or an inflationary asset any longer through this rebasing. We've actually now become deflationary because our fire pit and proprietary mechanism also rebases in itself. So if we, let's say, started at a 51% fire pit, then, well, that'll increase through transactions that I'll also cover through this slide there as well, and upcoming. So out of every transaction, we actually will take 5% out of all transactions done on the blockchain. So if you're buying SafuuX or you're selling SafuuX, you're transferring SafuuX, 5% of all that will come out of that transaction and literally get burnt into the fire pit. So that's how we increase the fire pit. So we'll start off at a guaranteed at least minimum 51% of the fire pit, and through transactions that can become 52% very quickly, 53, 54, 55. Depending on how successful we are and how much volume exists on our chain, that's how more deflationary our SafuuX asset will become. So again, supply and demand, the less supply of something, the more demand of something, the more that something is actually going to be worth as well. So I'll just touch on supply and demand, but the 51% of the fire pit is something what we've actually learned through the last 9 odd months. So SafuuX, yes, it's brand new, but we obviously needed to prove out the concept. We needed to learn certain things with Safuu. So take out the X from the logo, you've got Safuu, which exists in the market today. It's only a BEP20 token. It exists on the Binance Smart Chain. It's not an actual, our own blockchain native coin. It's just a token. But we needed to prove out the concept. We needed to do trial and error. We needed to make sure that it actually works. It can be paid out. It was actually, Safuu is with a much higher APY of about double than what we're doing here with the blockchain. But the one main thing that we actually learned is the fire pit, okay? So the supply and demand. Because we started Safuu about 9 months ago, back in March. When we released that, we started at a 0% fire pit, absolute zero. And throughout those 9 months of transactions, we got up to, and if I took out my phone, I could double check right now, but we're about 65 odd %. So, which is huge. If you start at 0 and we've literally taken out 65% of the supply, circulating supply, and burnt it forever, then, well, it's deflationary. And the more that it burns, the more that asset's going to become worth more, right? So we've learned from that, instead of taking it at 0, starting at 0, well, we're now starting it at 51 at the minimum, but it can kickstart a lot more than that, which I'll go through in a second. So how do we pay out these APYs? You know, how are we paying out these rewards? How are we paying out the rebasing? How do we make sure that we are a deflationary coin? It's through a tax structure. So there is no layer 1 blockchain or even layer 2 blockchain out there. There's no blockchain out there that exists with a proper tax structure. So there exists fees for transactions, yes, fees on our blockchain as well, which go to node operators. So yes, as a node operator, you need to validate blockchain transactions and you need to be paid for doing so, right? It's just common, that's how blockchains work. But as an actual tax structure, when you're sending a coin or selling or buying a coin, well, there's no fees on that. The only fees on that is if you're using a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange, it's their fees that they set, but it's not on a blockchain level. So what we're doing is we're starting off a brand new concept here using a tax structure. And this is the only way that we can make sure that this rebasing works. Like, you're going to get paid, you're going to receive this, you know, outrageous 191,000 odd APY. So 5% get put into the fire pit, as I mentioned earlier. That's the deflationary mechanism. We need that. We need that, and we need to start that off with at least a 51% percentage. And then we've got also a 1% allocation into the Safuu Insurance Fund. Now, the Safuu Insurance Fund is something that we played around with for the last 9 months, and it's a way that we can actually add liquidity into the market when needed. Obviously, investors, they like an asset that's not too volatile, right? But at the same time, sometimes it's good, obviously, but we need to enter liquidity to maintain certain price levels at a time. We've played around with that, and we know how to make that work, and it also helps out by giving you more of a guarantee and less risk as a holder for the asset. And you've got 2%, which is allocated into the treasury. That's not uncommon either. any normal company has a treasury where they allocate funding towards marketing, ventures like today, expos, and just future development. Treasury, we obviously need to take a slice of the pie, 2% only, which is very, very low, gets allocated to the treasury, and you've got 2% which gets put to a flexible rebase component, which we'll talk about now, called a fixed flex APY. So after the initial 8 months is finished, okay, the 191,888%, what happens then? We go to this model, fixed flex APY. So therefore, instead of this huge APY, which we can only do for a limited time, as I mentioned, then we go to a sustainable model. So the sustainable model means that you'll get an APR, okay? So that's annual percentage revenue instead of annual percentage yield. You basically get that fixed for that 12 months, locked in at 38%. And also on a daily transactional volume, the more successful we are, we need to give ourselves motivation to keep on working, keep on developing, keep on bringing on devs, keep on bringing on new smart contracts, right? People that want to develop on our blockchain, the more successful they are, the more successful we are, the more successful you as a holder are, because we pay up to 3.24% every day into actual rewards. Now that's actual rewards, that's not rebasing rewards, that's just transactional volume from what we're getting. So we could pocket that, hypothetically, as revenue, but no, we're giving it back to holders, again, to motivate us to do better. So that's where the sustainable model comes in, which is fixed flex. But the 8 months is just more of an on-ramping of massive amount of users, capture the most amount of market share possible, and any blockchain obviously needs utility. So yes, you've got the rebasing and auto compounding part of things, which is the utility itself, but we also need built-in features to expand on that and make sure that we're offering things that a normal blockchain should have, which number one is a SafuuX bridge. So we want to have from January 20th is when mainnet hits live on our SafuuX. That's when our blockchain hits live. So we want to make sure our bridge is also active at that time, allowing for BEP20 tokens. As I mentioned, Safu, which we've been running for the last 8-9 months, we've done that on the Binance Smart Chain, which is a BEP20 token. So we want to try to use what we've already used, which is Binance Smart Chain, and allow bridging straight over. So if you held Safu, then yes, you can obviously bridge that over to SafuuX, and then any other smart token, smart contract token on Binance Smart Chain, including BNB and BUSD, obviously you can bridge that across and get into Safu there as well. SafuuX, sorry. So you've got SafuuX Scan, that's just a transactional scanner. It's like BSC Scan or Ether Scan. It's just a normal scan where you've got actual transparency into what transaction you've done and others on the chain. The one thing that we really focus on is utter transparency. So yeah, SafuuX Scan. We've also got SafuuX Dex, which we'll be exploring to build there as well, called Waffle Swap. And we've come up with a Waffle Swap name as more of a kick to the teeth of Pancake Swap, being that they haven't really got a great reputation when it comes to helping out their tokens that are existing on their decks. So yeah, with Waffle Swap, we'll offer a complete transparency into when we collect fees on our decks, that we'll also be allocating a portion of that back to holders. But if and when we collect revenue out of that, we want to be transparent enough to actually set exact dates and times for projects to communicate effectively, to let them know when or if we're, let's say taking a portion of percentage from that token liquidity pool. Unlike what PancakeSwap do, they don't do that. It just could be on the fly and nobody knows. So yeah, I don't really want to talk too much negative about PancakeSwap, but Waffle Swap, we're going to be offering one of the industry's lowest fees as well, as you can see, which is only 0.19% in fees, which is broken down in LP and also to the treasury there as well. And the last thing that I just want to cover off with and leave you guys with is over the last month, we actually did a sacrifice for SafuuX, which you could look at it kind of like an ICO, if you will. Not that we need funds, because we've literally paid for all this blockchain development and all that up to now anyway, without funds from users ourselves. But this is not an ICO, okay? I just want to reference it as you could look at it kind of like it. meaning that we had a sacrifice for SafuuX. So you sacrificed your coins, your crypto, and you got SafuuX in return. We finished that sacrifice of over 30 odd million US dollars. And now we're doing what's called a Bitcoin bonanza, which lasts until the end of December. So if you didn't want to wait until January the 20th and you thought, look, how can I get in now, or is there any ability to get in now? This is the only ability that you have, kind of like a last chance, if you will, for Bitcoin bonanza. So all you really need to do is own Bitcoin, whether that be wrap Bitcoin or Bitcoin itself. Yes, you can sacrifice it for SafuuX, and you also get a bonus by doing so. This bonus meter that you see behind me is a bonus meter that affects everyone that's sacrificed. So even if you sacrifice $1, then at the end of the sacrifice, at the end of the bonanza period, then this bonus applies to everyone who sacrificed during December. So that's really all I want to cover, guys. Leave you with a generational, really great opportunity to get into SafuuX, whether it be now or wanting to wait until January the 20th. You've got the opportunity to do so. So I appreciate everyone for listening, and thank you so much. If you want any other information, come to the SafuuX booth. We've got plenty of flyers for you there as well. So thank you.